To use a grid-based movement system in Unreal Engine, first, create a macro to check if the selected location is inside the tile map. The macro should have an input for the row and column being checked. Make sure the row and column being passed are greater than or equal to 0, and also less than the number of rows and columns in your tile grid. Pass the Boolean result as well as the row and column being checked as output pins for our other functions to use. Next, create the tile location function that takes in your mouse position as a vector. Break the vector to access the x and y values individually, then subtract them against the grid's world location. Divide that result against the grid system's width and height. We can use the functions we made in the previous video to get those values. Then multiply the result against the grid's total rows and total columns we are using. Since this is a square tile map, we can floor the value and pass it into our tile check macro to validate the location is good before passing it into the output pins. Now create a grid location function that takes 3 inputs, a boolean that checks the center tile is needed, and integers for the grid row and grid column. Use the tile check macro to make sure the location is valid, multiply the row and column against the tile map size, then add that to the grid's world location. Use a select node to return the center tile value if true and 0 if false. Then add that to the previous result and pass the result as a vector to output pin. Next, create a select tile function that uses the grid's location function to set the visibility and location of the square procedural mesh based on the player's mouse location. Finally, from your player's blueprint, simply call the 3 functions we made to get the grid's position and move your characters towards the location. And now you have a working grid movement system.